Hello everyone, I'm back yet again. My name is Lydia, if you do not know me. And just last night, maybe it was the night before, I had a video come up for me on my YouTube feed from Daniel Mackler. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a therapist, I think, or he was a therapist on, he's on YouTube. And I really like his videos. The way he speaks, I'm like, we're on the same, wavelength, you know? You ever see videos from people like that and you're like, you speak my language. You speak my language, and I like that. So, he made a video a little while ago called something like, how to escape an impossible situation. And I was like, it just reminded me of my time in toxic mold. How when I was in toxic mold, which if you don't know, I was in toxic mold for about 4 to 5 years, and it was like hell on earth, just really debilitating, just all-encompassing turmoil, really. And it affected my personal life as well, greatly, deeply. It felt like I was on my deathbed, and then people in my life had also decided to cause chaos during this time, and it was just misery. But I do talk about it occasionally on here, and I have a Facebook page where I tell people everything that I did to heal and all this stuff. So it's definitely a big part of my channel. But I was reminded about how during that time when I was in toxic mold, I so often felt like I was in an impossible situation. Actually, I was in an impossible situation, and I spent every single waking moment of my day, and sometimes even it would be incorporated into my dream life, every moment of my life, just asking myself, how do I get out of this situation? How do I get out of this impossible situation? And then sometimes when I would try to heal, even internally and mentally, and even spiritually, sometimes I just would find these therapist videos that would talk a lot about healing your regulating your nervous system, and different therapy tactics. And those, although were helpful in the immediate, just made me wonder, well, how does this help me enough to get out of here? How can I mentally and emotionally and spiritually help myself enough to break out of this impossible situation? How do I heal myself enough to where something clicks and I'm like, yes, this is how I escape? And it never came. And sometimes I would even write comments under therapists' comment section, like, how do I even regulate my nervous system? How do I tell myself I'm safe, essentially, when I am in an unsafe situation? And especially since it was prolonged for years, it felt like, how do I trick myself? How do I trick myself into believing that I'm safe when I'm not? And I would get, occasionally when they would respond, I would get comments like, you can't really trick yourself out of this fight or flight response. You can't really, your body knows that you're unsafe, right? And so you can't really try to tell yourself that you're safe when deep down you aren't. You can always do this when you're out of the situation. Try these methods, telling yourself you're safe, or physically telling yourself you're safe, and showing yourself in different ways that you're safe, by taking care of yourself and all sorts of different even stretches and all of this stuff that you can do, but like it's really going to do the most help when you're out of it, you know, because your body recognizes that you are in a fight or flight toxic place, you know. And it's like you can't really, it's like if a lion is you know right on you and it's chomping on your head, and you're like, well, how do I tell my body in this moment that I am completely safe? How do I make my body feel as though there is no lion? How do I do that? And it's like, well, at that point, it's almost like maybe that's actually toxic, you know. That's, at least after they started saying that, I'm like, well, oh, that kind of dawned on me, like maybe that's actually extremely toxic to like want to have your brain tell itself different information than what is actually in front of it. And then when you are safe, maybe it won't understand where the real baseline is. I don't know. That's where my head was at there after, but yeah. And there is something also quite beautiful about the fact that our bodies and our minds tell us that we're unsafe and we're feeling unsafe, and they give us all of these different symptoms, even physically. There's something quite beautiful about that, because it's literally our body and our mind working together, acknowledging what's going on around us and trying to help heal us, trying to help save us and rescue us, although there isn't necessarily a way to do that sometimes. But now I'm out of the impossible situation, and how did I escape this impossible situation? Because when I was in it, I tried pretty much every waking moment to figure out a way out of this, and I was thinking so far outside the box, insane things, wild things. I was like, maybe if I become a completely different person, even I can manage to escape this, right? And luckily for me, not everybody has this, but luckily for me, I was going through this with my mom, and my mom and I are pretty close, but it was a constant effort on both of our parts to think about how to get out of this situation, and bouncing ideas off of each other, and just having a real rough time. And the truth of it was there really wasn't an answer on how to get out of this. And I if you're in an impossible situation right now, I don't mean to say that to scare you, but sometimes there isn't necessarily a right way to get out of this. There isn't necessarily a way to trick yourself out of this. And in my experience, I found out that the only things that could really help me was to just try to be as kind as I could to myself in those moments. And if you do look up Daniel Mackler's video about how to escape an impossible situation, or I think it's something like that, he had a lot of good tips in his video. Very good, very good. Check out his channel. I mean, it might help you, you know. But in my case scenario, I just was also trying to learn how to heal physically from toxic mold during this time. And it was interesting because a lot of the ways on how to heal physically from toxic mold, especially when you're still living in toxic mold, kind of overlapped with the healing information on how to heal your nervous system. And a lot of it was about how to heal, how to make yourself feel safe or comfortable. And I just read, I'm reading this book actually currently called The Immune System Recovery Plan, and it talks a lot about how a lot of this stuff is causing inflammation in the body, like mold, toxic mold, and even stress, and they all kind of mimic similar traits and stuff. But when I was in this impossible situation, I just ended up having to focus on heal, or being kind to myself, and being as present as I could with myself, and giving myself a break and a pass when I am spiraling into these depressive states and wanting to be so hard on myself. Just being extremely, extremely kind to myself, giving myself a complete break, because I was in an impossible situation. And not, I mean, who's gonna do well in an impossible situation, right? Who's gonna do well when they're trapped, when they're unable to be their true self, when they're battling such a battle? I don't think anybody can withstand that. And so being kind to myself was a huge one. And there's even moments where I would put sticky notes on my mirror that said kind, positive things to myself, about myself, and just tried to read that every single day, even though I knew that that wasn't going to necessarily save me or take me out of the situation. I knew that at least it would build up these building blocks within, and then maybe somehow, in some way, building up these building blocks, these emotional, mental, spiritual, and sometimes even physical building blocks would eventually maybe lead me to a way to escape. Although it felt so much of the time like I was just hoping with with every last breath that I had that these things would work for me. Like during this time, if you're a person who is in toxic mold, during this time, even though I was in toxic mold, I detoxed from toxic mold while I was in it, which seemed so counterintuitive to me at the time. I was like, there's no way, like why am I doing this? I'm wasting my time. I'm putting my body through this crazy experience for what? But it healed me just enough to where I was physically able to get out of there, and then I was mentally clear enough to get out of the situation. And I think if your situation is not necessarily a physical situation like toxic mold, but is maybe more emotional or a different type of physical, I don't know. I think that same principle can kind of apply. It's like healing yourself while you're in there. You know, maybe it'll build up these building blocks over time. But I think being kind to yourself is maybe the biggest key. And I mean, for me, I had to pray a lot. I know a lot of people have issues with their religious beliefs, but for me, that was huge. I had to keep diligently praying and talking to the Creator, because if I felt like I didn't have anybody on my side, well, really, who do I have? Or if I didn't feel like the Creator of the universe was on my side, I mean, it is a dark and lonely thought. And yeah, during this time, I also started researching about casting things out in the name of Yeshua, just casting out different emotional traumas that I had, different generational curses that had been spoken over me my whole life, different recordings that would play in my head growing up. And even during these dark moments where I was trapped, like these things that kept promoting depression and kept promoting me, or perpetuating this like self-negative talk, you know. And once I removed that and I stopped talking to myself so negatively, it's like my body understood that, okay, I can at least trust you, myself. Like, okay, you're there for me. Like, I can find comfort within myself. But I think just praying about it, praying all the time on how to escape. I mean, sometimes that's really all you can do is pray for help towards escaping. And the exact moment may be revealed to you, or exactly the right steps to take might be revealed to you. For me, once I healed enough to regain strength to finally remove myself from the home that gave me toxic mold, how did I start that sentence? I forget. But I had to do that. I had to build up my endurance and my strength and all of that. Oh, sorry. It's a warm summer this summer for me. But I had to build all of that up in order to have that door open for me. Because previously I was not healthy enough. I knew that physically was not possible for me to pack up my stuff and figure out how to move and all of that stuff. It wasn't possible for me. And so little by little, these things, these different forms of knowledge, different forms of healing entered my path, and I just kept at it. And eventually I became healthy enough to get out of there, to escape. And, you know, even if it's a mental issue for you, or an unsafe family, or whatever your impossible situation is, maybe that's it. You know, diligently keeping at it, knowing full well that you can't beat yourself up in the moment for not having the answers. You can't beat yourself up, because oh boy, I did that a lot. In those moments, I was like, I just can't believe that I'm still existing in this. I can't believe that I haven't found the answer yet. There has to be an answer. There has to be a right way to get out of this. But sometimes the truth is that there just isn't. There isn't until there is. There isn't until one day that door opens that wasn't open before. And even if the answer has always technically been there, and for some reason it just now came upon you, it just now crossed your path or your mind, don't beat yourself up that it just now came to you, because maybe that was meant to happen at the right time. And just holding still and fast onto that, because if you would have known, you would have done. And knowing full well that you will get out. Tell yourself that. Tell yourself that daily until you know it. I will get out. I will get out. I will. I will. I have to. I must. And eventually, it will. Eventually you will. But you have to believe that you will. You have to. Because it opens up that part of your brain where now you're always looking. You're always looking. And if you told yourself that you'll never get out of that situation, it's like these doors, these invisible doors are just shutting for you. It's not doing anything for you. Tell yourself that you will get out. I had to learn that. Because for so long I told myself, I don't think I'll ever get out of this. And that really spiraled me, man. But you can get out, and you will. Having that faith was a game changer. But that's all that I had to do to get out of my, that's all I could do to get out of my impossible situation. So sometimes there's not an answer. And that is really sometimes the worst part, is knowing that there really isn't an answer sometimes. Until there is. Anyway, if you're dealing with toxic mold right now, or maybe even homelessness, I didn't feel these thoughts when I was homeless, which was weird, but I think I just was in complete go. I just didn't even get to that space. But If you're homeless, just keep telling yourself it is possible to get out. Even though we're in a housing crisis, like, it's possible. It's so possible. You've got this. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I have to say. Just my thoughts about being in an impossible situation. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.